We are back again. Wake Up MLS. If you're brand new to the show, my name is Jose. I'm joined by a great panel of co-hosts here with me tonight to debate whether or not Major League Soccer should entertain the idea of moving into a brand new schedule format. We will talk about the pros, the cons from a few different perspectives. We're going to discuss, debate all of it. You're not going to want to miss out. So again, stick around for the entire video today. It's going to be a banger. And as usual, I'm joined, as I mentioned before, a great panel of co-hosts. We have John Rollins from Loud and Proud Orlando, Hector from Insert Name FC, and back by popular demand, John Rivera is here with us. He's making his return to the show. I'm excited for everybody to be here with me again as we talk about, in the middle of the summer transfer window, whether or not Major League Soccer should be moving into this new schedule format. Now, just to give everybody the context, if you're at home, maybe you're a casual MLS fan, maybe you didn't tune into MLS All-Star Week. Can't really blame you if you didn't. But with that said, a very revealing piece of news came out. Paul Tenorio put out an article that stemmed from a press conference Don Garber held during MLS All-Star Week, where he teased the opportunity for there to be a vote potentially around whether or not MLS should move into a, I guess, call it fall to spring calendar, right? As opposed to what we have today, where the calendar starts at the very end of February, worst case scenario, early March, and heads into October, November. So from a number of perspectives, if you're just a general American sports fan, I'm sure you're going to sound off in the comments below. Please do let us know how you guys feel, because again, all of this context weighs into the conversation, and we're going to bring it all full circle today on the video. So let's jump right in, guys. Let's not waste any more time. I think the perspective we need to start this video with today is really should align with what we have going on at this very moment, which is the summer transfer window has kicked off. If you're curious about our takes, our opinions on the summer transfer window, go watch that last video. It's already live on the channel. We talked about just some of the biggest names we see coming to the league and potentially exiting. But I think when you think about a transfer window, it's an exciting time for so many fans, not just here, but globally, right? If you're a big European soccer fan, as an example, you know what I'm talking about. It's an exciting time, right? Players are moving from one club to another, one league to another. And you have to feel that this weighs heavily into whether or not owners in Major League Soccer will opt for this new schedule format, right? I know we have 2 transfer windows in the league already. So from that perspective, many fans feel like this is not changing all that much. So maybe it's a good, mini topic for us to get things warmed up as far as pros and cons are considered. So John Rivera, man, you are back for the first time in a while. I do want to kick things off with you, bro, just to kind of start. I'm kind of curious, man. First off, welcome back to the show. How you doing?
Thank you. I've been good. Just needed a little break, reset, life kind of catching up with everything. But yeah. We're good. We're good.
Hell yeah, bro. I love to hear that. So how do you feel about, I'm sure, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this topic. We all do, right? We all kind of pay attention to what's going on with the league. I think a lot of us feel like it'd be super cool for this to align well with other teams, other leagues that we support overseas, but it's not that simple, right? So from the lens of the transfer window and how this could potentially make, I don't know, transfers in and out of MLS easier, more difficult. How do you feel about potentially us moving into this newly proposed schedule format?
I think it's beneficial. Not only there's obviously there's good things and bad things about it, right?
Yep.
The way we look at it in terms of the players that are coming from Europe, finishing a season and then joining midway through the season, that would no longer happen. Mm-hmm. I know sometimes with the winter transfer, the guys come in, they have a little bit of a break, then they kind of go back into playing again, which it throws off the rhythm. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of these players train for that, fall to spring timeline. So they're in their mindset, they're getting their bodies ready for that amount of time. So if what they're, preparing for is to be active during those months, clearly there's a little bit of a pause for them, and then they have to kind of get back into the game and then make that last all the way again until the following winter for us here. But no, I think it's beneficial in terms of when we talk about transfers, just in the names that would be available, more or less in the summer, because it's more of an option now. There's not a thought process of I just came off the back of a grueling season. So maybe I don't make the move because I want that extra break. You know what I mean? It aligns everything. Players will play the same amount of games, I would assume, throughout, the majority across of all football in itself, whether you're talking about, international breaks, things like that. We talk about it all the time here too. During international breaks, we're still playing MLS games. You know what I mean? So it would give all the teams around a fair chance in terms of their internationals being available to be selected for those what people would consider not really crucial. But you look at it, from a wider lens, all those games matter in the sense of making the playoffs. And if you're losing, you might have lost a game here or two because of international break, and you missed the playoffs by a game or two, by one or 2 points. Like that could be a deciding factor into a lot of this. So ultimately, I think it does more good than bad. But we talk about, there's other things that we'll talk about in the episode that are going to be probably not as beneficial for the regular casual fan that watches here in the U.S. So
yeah, I agree. I think the one from the lens of transfers, and maybe you guys agree, maybe you disagree. I think the one perspective that I have is that the winter transfer window in MLS is usually pretty damn quiet. Like there isn't much going on, if anything. Like everyone just waits for the summer window. We might as well only have one window, in my opinion. In many recent seasons, it just hasn't been much to look forward to. It just feels like the off season. Like okay, cool. Like if my team were to make a signing, that'd be a huge plus, but they're probably not going to. So
and you think about it too. You think about it too. Like a lot of the transfers that they make in the wintertime are for players to come in the summer.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even
signings.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Or signings that don't really pop off as much.
Yeah.
Like I mean, there has been some of those winter transfer windows that were like, oh my god, I can't believe that's an interesting signing. I believe Musa was Musa a winter transfer window signing?
Yeah, well, he got negotiated between so it kind of was like it happened in the 2 months leading up to the season starting, but they started the conversations in the winter window.
Yeah. So, but obviously it's a handful of like signings that do come in the wintertime. And I mean, obviously the ideal is you want to bring them in when you're about to get ready for preseason, one to build chemistry with your teammates, but also, to really get those like high profile players, right? Going after the Griezmanns, the Girouds, all those guys. Look, they're playing for big clubs. They're ideally contending for silverware, and you're not going to just out and leave your club to go to this MLS venture. So I think when you have it now more towards the summer transfer window, if it is the way that's going to work, now your preseason is during the summer. Now you're being able to work and do all the things you need to do to build that teamwork and build that chemistry in a bigger window, because you have almost like 2 months, 3 months, depending on how you view it, to prepare yourself for the season. And I think that benefits the player itself, because I think sometimes one of the bigger issues for a lot of these signings is they're just not gelling with their team. And obviously you can't really do that with 3 weeks of training, because most of these teams, they let them at least take like a week off before they go into the training ground.
Yep.
So I think that becomes a positive for the league, that we're not only going to get these marquee signings over to this league, but they're actually going to perform and maybe not have as many duds as we've had. Giroud as a prime example.
I could list a few, but I want to kind of bring up something to you guys, and maybe this is an interesting point because I just thought of this like now. Do you guys think that, like, obviously, like, without having to, because the winter transfer window will still be there in a sense, right? Because in the world market, everyone will still have a month to kind of make those signings. Do you guys believe that there would have to be some sort of systematic change to the rules in terms of those signings? Because I feel like if we're adding players in the winter, in the middle of the season, it's a completely different dynamic than what we're doing currently, right? It's kind of like the approach. So? Go ahead.
How so?
In the sense of, like, we're in the middle of a season. In the summertime, yes, all these players become available. It takes a little bit of time to get there, right? I'm talking more or less like, and I'm thinking this more like on the U.S. and Mexico international sides. Like, if these international players aren't getting minutes, if these clubs can go out for loans, bring these players back home. We talk about tournaments all the time, whether that's Gold Cup, World Cups, things like that. Can we use this window as like a method of maybe in the salary cap, maybe make some rules where, shift a couple things just to make it fair and have those opportunities not only for, I think it would benefit U.S. soccer as a whole anyway. because I think that would help their players get minutes, whether they're in Europe or not. And it's a quick loan for the rest of the season, and it shouldn't have. I mean, it should affect the salary cap, but it shouldn't be heavily penalized because it's not for a full season.
Okay, so
You know what I mean?
I do agree with like the aligning. If we're aligned with Europe, it does make it a little bit easier. Say, for instance, the whole Gio Reyna situation, where maybe Dortmund is in a position where, hey, we're not really using this guy. LAFC wants to bring him in. Why not send him on loan over to LAFC versus to that terrible loan to Nottingham Forest? Like, that makes more sense. You still get him back, but he's going into a position where he's going to play and get minutes instead of now where everyone's trying to sell him to LAFC. Bryce, the whole different. I think that's a different aspect, and I do agree that that's going to be a huge potential. If they do, I don't know when they plan on changing. I would assume it'd be after the World Cup. I don't think
after the World Cup was the proposal.
Yeah. So I think for me, with that argument, I think it does benefit that winter transfer window is strictly for strategic reasons, right? If your team is looking good and maybe you just need to add one or two pieces for that second half of the season, that's where a Gio Reyna loan could come into play versus trying to figure out how do I build this team in this short month. And I think actually MLS expands it a little bit because of
they should. We'll talk about that too. Like in my opinion, they should. They need to expand like how big the league is, and then start talking about maybe breaking it off into two divisions.
Oh no, I meant like expand I think they add on to their winter transfer window.
Oh yeah. But bro, I agree with what you're saying too. But like the other perspective, I think what John was talking about was like, okay, so let's take that scenario that Hector just mentioned, right? Let's imagine that Dortmund wants to. Okay, let's give Reyna some more minutes in MLS. Bro, it becomes a true possibility if you restructure the schedule, right? Right now, currently, it's not a possibility in the winter. Why? Because if they negotiate a loan with LAFC, they send him out in January. He's not playing for minimum 2 months until the season actually starts. And then when they want to be able to try and get him back, he basically had less minutes than any other loanee they could have sent out, right? And then depending on what LAFC thinks, he would have only been there for a few months, and then have to give him right up. That's not beneficial to them.
And ideally, you would probably be going for a playoff push.
Exactly.
And what if Reyna was a
crucial player?
Yeah. But by aligning yourselves with the global calendar, there's just an opportunity for the winter window to actually be meaningful to the broader season for MLS, as opposed to what it is today. Which honestly, bro, like you might as well just call it a longer off season than what most teams have to endure, because it doesn't feel like a transfer window. So I don't know. To me, in the transfer market, there's a lot of very interesting implications. And then I also want to ask the question of like, what's syncing with, let's say, again, I think of Europe as being the cream of the crop to an extent. People can disagree with that if they want to, but what's syncing with the European transfer window reduce, let's say, mid-season absences, right? Or just make certain rosters more stable because, again, right, the January window is mid-season for everybody. It just is. It's mid-season. It's a midway point for everybody globally. So if you could find a way to, again, for the first half of the season, you start in August, you work your way to Christmas, you reset at the same moment that everybody else resets, either in Europe or globally. And it's like, okay, we're at the halfway point of our season. What moves can I make realistically now to give us a better chance of making playoffs? The issue with the transfer window today as it stands in MLS is that, like, it's still kind of early. I mean, like, yeah, why not even early? Sorry, late, right? Like, we're like 2/3 into the season. There are some teams that pretty much already fucking have their playoff, destiny somewhat already settled to an extent, right? And now the transfer window opens. It's like, how much work can you do? And also, like, how much pressure are owners under really? Like, if you're from a market that's honestly their team kind of sucks, and you want to put pressure on your owner, the retort to that from their perspective is like, or the response from their perspective is, brother, if you're Montreal right now, like, brother, these playoffs are done. Like, we're not going. We can make every move in the market right now. It's not going to change anything, and you just keep doing business the way that you normally do. Like, there's no incentive to make your team better at that point.
I think from a transfer perspective, there is no negative. Like, lighting the windows is only positive. Right now, we are backwards. Everything is backwards. We have our summer window is not important when that's the most important window in the world. The window of the winter is the most important, really, to build your squad, and no one is doing business then. There's a Sportico study, remember, a while back, they asked all the GMs about this, and they're all like, we can't do business basically as well as we should be able to. So for me, doing this will be bigger than bringing Messi here. This will propel the league, in my opinion, further forward, because not only are you going to have better competition and like being able to compete with European leagues for the top players at the right window in the right time, but you're also going to be able to fill out the rest of your roster with guys that become available as soon as the end of the summer hits. Like right now, you got like middle out guys that you want to, you want to bring in old veterans on the cheap, or you want to fill out your squad with young up and coming guys. There's so much more options to do that when you're aligned with Europe, as well as the option to bring in real stars and compete with, like, we should be competing with Saudi Arabia in some of these transfers. Like, I don't think we should be going out and spending crazy wages like they are and insane transfer fees, but some of these guys we could compete and bring here to MLS. And right now, a lot of that we're not able to do because, like you guys all said, the window, it just doesn't line up. And so that makes things more difficult. You see this weird 6-month loan situation we get a lot of the time, like Pep Biel and other guys doing that. You wouldn't have to do any of that if we sorted it out. So I think it's massive for the league to push us forward into being more competitive globally. And that, in a lot of ways, for me, kind of outweighs any of the other negatives that we're going to talk about.
I agree.
I was going to say, because we've seen loans like Henry back to Arsenal, like during that 1 month loan, like
It's an awkward time.
It's just an awkward loan. Those are just awkward loans. But you get these opportunities, like we had that rumor with Messi going back to Barcelona for a little bit, like that was flirted around with. Like, yeah, those are cool, but realistically, like those aren't something that should be happening. We want the players to stay here. We want the players to kind of grow the league as a whole, right? And we look at Messi as kind of like I'm going to call him more of like a marketing prop at this point. He is a very influential player. He has a lot of influence in terms of the amount of eyeballs that he can bring to the table. But think about how many players could potentially go on loan to MLS. And I'm not even saying permanent transfers, just on loan. We see it all the time. Players get ousted. You saw the likes of Rashford get ousted. Not saying that Rashford's going to come to MLS, you know what I mean? But there are those, quote unquote lesser players that you could potentially bring in that is going to heavily impact some of these sides. And who knows, we might get one loan that might be a really good loan for a team and they just kick off and they fire on. There could be more. It allows for a little bit more competition. Yeah. I feel like.
I mean, they also have to loosen the restrictions.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's all part of it.
He's talking about slowly they're going to like open the tap up over time, which is good. So I think they will use this as a time to add, like, I don't know, more DPs or more wage gap or whatever you want to do, maybe take away some of those mechanics. I don't know, but they definitely have to loosen it up at the same time, or else all of this is for nothing, right? If you still have all these restrictions and we have the alignment of the windows, what's the point? So that has to happen. The other thing I think is really interesting is that a lot of the owners, they want this to happen. So I think that kind of says that they're ready to spend money, but they realize now they're getting shafted. Like, honestly, they're getting shafted all the time because we're having to sell guys in the winter for more, like less money than we should really take if we were to sell them in the summer. Trying to buy guys in the middle of, the winter is like not as good.
Like a player that you would buy in winter right now is probably it would be a lot less in the summer transfer window.
Yeah. You're getting undervalued. Yeah. Also trying to protect your players across the summer window. Like right now, like teams are coming for guys like Alex Freeman, for example, right? Because they're like, oh, and that we don't want to let him go in the middle of the season. Who wants to do that, right? But if this was happening in January, in the summer when everybody's off, then it's like, okay, we can have a conversation because we can have time to replace this kind of player. It makes sense. So a lot of that is an issue for these GMs, and it'll be fixed by this.
I'm just looking at it from the perspective of like even like the I think U.S. soccer would benefit a lot. I just think about it, like we talk about Freeman, we talk about all these players, right? Like they would actually have the opportunity to have full training camps with their new teams. They would have the ability to fight for spots. Granted, some of them might not.
Cupcake.
Yeah, some of them might not make make the big impacts like we would hope or expect. Right?
I think that's a fair argument. You know, you think about Ricardo Pepi, right? When he went to Augsburg, it didn't pan out as we all hoped it would have panned out. Obviously, thank God he didn't fully give up on Europe, because now what he's doing at PSV, and I know that there's rumors speculating of potentially him leaving PSV. I hope he doesn't. I just want to see him as a 9 over there. But I think that you make a valid point. Like, if these guys, kind of similar to how we've been saying for MLS, where these new signings also get to have a preseason and actually train with the team. Same thing, vice versa for these guys that want a shot in Europe. I kind of wonder now, like, would have Jordi Mihailovic's situation been a whole lot different if he was able to gone in summer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I think again,
the Diego Luna situation would not be happening right now.
Exactly.
Let's be honest.
Like, you have a countless examples of players that could go out that could potentially actually make U.S. soccer a lot better. And I'm not even saying that. It opens up the window of, like, everyone talks about Liga MX versus MLS, right? That whole thing. It gives those players even an option to even come here. You know what I mean? Like, it's more of a thought process, because you're like, okay, like, there's eyeballs there. You know, it's a good market. Like, you know, in terms of, you know, life and all that, you know, what living and all that, it would make sense. Some players would prefer that. So you could see even some of the other internationals come to MLS and use it kind of as a launching pad. And I think at the end of the day, we don't want to be known as a league that is just, oh, you're coming here to retire on the back end of your career. We also want to be pumping out players as well. And to be able to do that, this aligning the windows is just going to help that.
I agree.
So
it's good all the way around. It's good all the way around. And I think that I don't know if anybody in the comments can make an argument that I think forces us to change our opinion. I really do believe, from this perspective alone, there should be just unanimous conformity around this, right? Like, we should all be in agreement that this would only be a good thing for the league, especially when you imagine what MLS looks like. It sounds crazy to say, in a post-Messi era, where everyone talks about just how, I mean, I see so many threads on the timeline about just how fans are getting into this league because they want to watch Messi play. And I respect that, bro. As much as the league glazes Messi, like, it is what it is. But he right now is quite literally the gateway drug for so many either casual sports fans in America or, frankly, global fans around the world to start tuning into MLS, even if it means it's not in their ideal time zone, or they don't get how the rules work or know who the players are. Understanding what the world could look like without him, I think this is a very, very key piece to this. Like, this is how we keep the world engaged, by finding a way to bring talent to this league through aligning transfer windows. So again, let's let you guys fill in the comments down below, but I really don't think there's like a strong debate to this. I mean, I think
thought of a good way to put it is that, like, Messi is like, if you teach a man, you know, if you give a man a fish, but if you have this is like you're teaching a man to fish, because you can bring in more. Like, Messi's gonna go. Then what's next? This aligns the calendar so you can bring in guys, not obviously at his level. There's only one of him, but we need a lot more good talent, and this is that step to.
That's it. John's saying we got to bring Lamine Yamal to MLS. We're doing it. We're doing it. That's what we're doing.
When he's 30, he'll come, I'm sure.
That's what we're doing, bro. That's what we're doing. That's the plan. That's the plan. I can already see Garbro, like, you know,
I volunteered as a person at 5'6" to go attend his birthday party.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. I love that. Again, guys, let us know in the comments down below. But from a transfers perspective, it makes all the sense in the world. MLS should be looking at this 1,000% from that perspective. All right, man. Going into the second of 3 mini topics and perspectives we want to kind of weigh this potential format change from. I think the second one is the biggest one, or I think for a lot of people anyway, from what I've seen on the timeline, is probably the biggest one, in my opinion, which is weather. And look, we have a fan on this show who lives up north. You got 3 of us who live down south. So, like, we could definitely have the conversation around whether or not it makes sense to, from the perspective solely of weather, if it makes sense to move into this new schedule format. I think, you know, just teeing this up and kicking this off the right way. I'll say first that, like, as someone who lives in Texas in late July, and dude, I live in Dallas. Hector's even further south than I am, and John Rollins is probably in a much more humid spot than I am, being down in Florida. So, like, I think we can all attest that there are times of the year, regardless of where you live in this country, that it sucks. It just does to play football, like, or soccer. It just does at the end of the day, right? Right now, any club from Europe or anywhere around the world, I should say, but mainly Europe, who came to participate in the Club World Cup, found out the hard way that it is hot here, bro. Like it's just hot in America in the summer. And the crazy part is that like it's not even the hottest part of the summer, right? Like we hadn't even got to that part yet. You know what I mean? So
we
had to deal
just
with
hit
that.
triple digits today.
Yeah, they had to
We
deal with
just-
that, bro. We're seeing cooling breaks in MLS games, rightfully so, right? And bro, if you're a Texas-based team or a Southern-based team, and you're, I mean, I thought it was an advantage having NYCFC come to Toyota Stadium to play FC Dallas. Clearly, it wasn't. We still lost the game, but like, it is typically in this time of the year, it is quite literally an advantage for Southern teams. But the games still get played, so it leads me to believe that there is a world where it's possible for us to play games when it is fucking cold outside. Like I truly believe that. So look, John Rivera, bro, I want to start from that perspective. You live in probably one of the most brutally cold parts of the country. So I mean, the Midwest in general is just like fucking cold. Like whether you live in Chicago, Wisconsin, Minnesota, I think it's like those people seem to be the loudest when it comes time to have this part of the debate. So I'm kind of curious how you see the world. Is it realistically possible for MLS to look at hosting games in the northern states during those winter times of the year?
I think some games might need to be postponed. I mean, you get negative 50-degree wind chill out here, so like it's not fun. I mean, it's not fun to stand in. I mean, in terms of, but the thing is, people complain about that shit, and yet they sit out there in NFL stadiums, cold as hell. They sit out there with their jackets, the little hand warmers. They're still there. I get
also,
it.
how many
Drink more, bro. Drink more.
How many NFL players do we see warming up shirtless?
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
Like a badge of honor. Like a badge of honor. They're out there just like repping that shit, bro. 100%.
Well, I mean, I've seen, you go to these football games. You get a water, right? As soon as you step outside, it freezes over. I get it. I get it. But I think that there is ways that we can work around it. There's ways that we can work around it. Maybe in terms of the scheduling, maybe we just don't play as many home games in the winter. Maybe like we still do it now anyway. In when we talk about like we started in February, right? We started in February. A lot of our games in the back end of the season, we start playing a lot of home games around that time because the football season's over. So players that or teams that use NFL stadiums, things like that, they're available to use. I get that. It's fine. But we can also flip that as well and use that to our advantage when it comes to the weather. Like, it's going to be cold, yes. But is that not going to be an advantage for teams up here anyway? If you're used to the cold, if you can use that as a home field advantage to a sense. And I'm not saying go play in negative 50-degree wind chill. Like, I'm just not going to advocate for that, all right? I don't advocate for anyone to really be outside in that kind of type of weather. But I will say that there is ways around it. You could schedule more of our games earlier on as home games in the fall, early fall, and then start shifting some around. Maybe you do one a month, two a month. I don't know. We could figure it out, though. Also, the Bundesliga takes a break in the wintertime. There's leagues out there that take breaks in the wintertime. We can break up we might need to end the season a little bit later, but that's still okay because if we talk about even the playoffs, at the time that they'll end, you still have enough time to do the summer transfer windows, do all that. We could figure it out. The scheduling won't really change too much. It's just there's workarounds around it, and I get it. No one wants to really be standing out there and watching it, but people are going to do it anyway. Plus, and I think about it too, there's markets out here that their teams are garbage. They're not good. So a lot of people go watch garbage NFL teams in the cold, and they don't care. They still will sit out there. They'll sit outside. They'll support. And I think that's also another way for some of these teams to get more fans in the seats, especially if they're performing well. Because a lot of people in this country, like, they're very bandwagony, if I could call it that way. So they'll support things that are doing well, right? So you'll get more eyeballs in a sense as well on some of the teams that might not have those eyeballs right now. You know what I mean? Just because in what would be sporting time or in the country, if their team isn't doing good, they're going to have your attention's going to go somewhere else. MLS is right there. You know what I mean? And if you like soccer, if that's something that you enjoy watching, oh, maybe I'll flip on the game instead of watching, my crappy NFL team play. You know what I mean? Like, you have more options. In the wintertime, during the week, if we have midweek games, you have really bad basketball teams that you know, Utah's not very good. You know what I mean? There's potential for there to be more eyeballs, you know, and I get it. Like I said, maybe we do a controlled thing where we flip certain things around in the schedule and you play less home games in the wintertime. We play those more down south where it's a little bit more favorable for that. I don't really think it matters too much. I'm going to be honest. I don't really think it matters all that much.
That's what I was going to say, bro, to be honest.
I think this is just a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. I honestly do think that the Heat is just, for me, and I know people talk about the Heat, and for all the Houston fans that complain about the Heat, shut the fuck up too. But because I mean, once again, we live in Texas. People are going to high school football games, you know, and I'm talking about high school. We're not talking about college. We're not talking about NFL. High school, packing up a stadium.
Yep.
The game is so hyped that they're moving it to Cowboy Stadium. Like that, they do this, you know, like. It's so true. The stories about Texas football is just a whole different beast. But anyways, my whole point about this though is that summertime, and I'm speaking for a lot more tropical based regions in Houston. Houston, Orlando is also similar. We're about to enter hurricane season.
Yeah.
And the reason why I point that out is because, well, one, we actually had to cancel our game against LA Galaxy because we just Shell Energy Stadium became a fishbowl. So like, you know, with our weather, it does become more with tropical weather. It's a lot of rain, so we get pushed back. Hell, last season we had to push back because of a hurricane.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, like, that's where like I understand the heat and the cold and all that, but for a lot of the tropical states or tropical regions in the U.S., we get kind of one of the hardest weathers to deal with when it comes to hurricanes. Now, I'm not saying that any other storm is worse, but this one clearly like pushes back not only a game, but almost like 3 weeks of work, especially depending on how bad that hurricane is.
But let's think about it this way. How many teams are playing in the cold? You got probably Colorado. You got obviously us, the Fire. You got Minnesota that has an outdoor stadium.
The three
Revs.
The three Canada.
The three Canadian teams.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in snow, you can argue at
Seattle.
times of the year.
Seattle
does, believe it or not, it doesn't get snow all that much.
Not that much. So
no,
then they'll be okay.
Close to the water. It's more like rain that you deal with, and the cold mixed with the rain. But like that's really it. Maybe DC at times. Like less than 10 teams. Less than 10.
Less than 10 teams, and we're freaking out. And how many teams are in this league?
Yeah,
and we're freaking out about the cold.
And how many coastal teams do we have in the MLS?
That's another thing too, bro. I think it's just like a situation where exactly what you said, Hector. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And what I will say to this is like, look, man, if you're a diehard fan, more often than not, you will fucking be there anyway. This goes back to the point John Rivera made about, if you're a bro, how many videos have we all seen if you're an NFL fan of like the Bills Mafia? And like what happens to those fans in the middle of winter or getting close to playoffs where there's so much snow that they can't even like run through it. They have to really just walk because there's no other choice. And they're out there, bro. They're out there fucking breaking tables, smashing beers, having a great time. You couldn't even tell it was cold or there was snow outside with how they were acting, right? Like it's part of it. I understand it's not comfortable for everybody, but for the diehards, they will be there. If you're like, you know what? I love my team, but I'm not going out there. I'll be fucking real with you, bro. You're not a diehard. Like, just accept it, move on. You're not like him. You're not that real of a fan, and that's okay. I'm not talking to you. This part of the show is not for you, okay? This is for the diehards, and the diehards will be there. I promise, bro. I promise. So, anyway, that's kind of how I see it. I feel like the weather argument is so stupid, in my opinion. I think it's dumb. Like, like we'll find a way to slow games down. We'll find a way to, in some markets, to not have as many games during the Christmas time or maybe January. They'll play somewhere else maybe, but like, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
It's a valid point, but I don't think it'll affect as much as people really think. Like I said, maybe you have less than 10 teams. I don't think it'll affect much.
It's not as strong of an argument, but it's like if you want to make an argument for why you don't like this, this is your the meme of the person like defending the child sleeping with the knife. Like
this is your Super Bowl, bro. This is your Super Bowl. This is your World Cup.
Like this is it. Like this is all I got. I'm gonna rock this argument as long as I humanly can. That is their argument. That's what it is, and I get it because every other issue, like transfer window, positive, right? Whether it's either or, it's gonna suck. Whether you're gonna deal with cold or heat. The question is, which devil would you rather deal with?
You can't tell me in Europe there's not games out there that they hate playing.
I also think right now we're still playing games at those time of year. It's just about more about what games are being played at what time of year. Right?
I agree with that.
Wouldn't you rather have people freezing their butts off in the beginning of the season, the mid-season, and then be like, oh, it's May and it's beautiful outside and the playoffs are on for MLS. Let's go watch a soccer game. Way more appealing than like this year, we kind of got a bit lucky that it was in LA. Like if it was in New York, the final MLS Cup could have been freezing your butts off, right? So like I think that does make a big difference. Than what you were talking about, John, is the extreme cold and heat. Like FIFA Pro, they have regulations on that. So if it's less than minus 27 on the wind chill, then that's going to be they will stop the game for that officially cold. And then on the extreme heat, it's the WBGT is what they measure it with, and that we see all the time. That's just getting water breaks for everybody. But I think what matters more is about the fans and how they feel in the winter and the summer. And like we know in the summer, right? Like a lot of people just won't go because it's so hot. The same as in the winter. So I get it's cold. I understand that. The irony of the Orlando guy saying, oh, go out in the cold. I get that too. But like come here and go to a game in August and tell me you're not dying, right? Like you guys can put on a lot of clothes. You can go stand inside in the heat. We're just dying we're just everyone out there has no shirt on, not because they want to take their shirt off, because it's more comfortable that way. Like that's literally how hot and sweaty we are. So I think both sides have arguments. What Jose has put up on screen is just like I put out an idea of what the MLS could do right now if they want to keep Leagues Cup. The reason I like the idea of that is because you could play it like they do right now, just in certain cities in the South, and as well as maybe even adding in the Mexican teams hosting. I don't think they'll do that because they don't want to do that. It's not why they designed Leagues Cup.
They should, though.
But
They should,
Leagues Cup in the December-January period, kind of like take a break, like have like two like mini seasons, as it were. I know people hate that, but kind of start the MLS and finish the MLS with the Leagues Cup in the middle. And during that time, you play all those games in the South. I think it would solve a lot of issues. So you're not trying to play MLS games, as well as like I would really want to give the Open Cup its own weekends. Really try and make that a thing. If you're going to make this change, fix the Open Cup as well. There's a lot of things they could do. This was just one idea that I put out.
But I agree with it, and most importantly, from the lens of like, really, what you mentioned before about in those winter months, December and January, like finding a way to keep games going without necessarily having them be focused on MLS, right? So the Leagues Cup, I think, is perfect, and the beauty of Leagues Cup today is you don't have to participate. That's the thing. You really want to break between like the first and second half of the season, take that break. There are 18 MLS teams participating in this year's Leagues Cup.
Yeah, maybe just the 18 Southern teams do it, and then the rest, like Chicago plays, Canada indoor soccer. I don't know what you guys are gonna do.
Or take that time to, I said, like whatever. If your team needs a break in the middle of the season, maybe you want to take that time to spend 2 months, I don't know, scrimming against better competition outside of MLS or whatever the case may be.
There would have to be a deadline to that, though. I feel like there would have to be a deadline
for
to
sure.
Like,
Or you focus on the transfer window because hey, now we're aligned with the global transfer window. We can start talking about making moves in January and whatnot. Like there's so many opportunities.
Is no Leagues Cup and there's a break there. Like that's the other thing they might do. Most likely.
Make Leagues Cup an actual in-season tournament. But
you would
have. It makes sense this way, in my opinion.
Okay.
I like this.
So, what do you guys think about this idea? If we're aligning with the schedules, it's up to Liga MX and whatever they want to do. But could we not just make Leagues Cup a formatted version of like the Europa League? Like make it in a better format.
I mean,
maybe we because I feel like CONCACAF needs to have a regional secondary tournament so that all these other Caribbean teams that are bitching and moaning about being in CCC and all these other competitions can at least have something to play with.
I think two things. Triple C needs to get bigger.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Leagues Cup, I think, could be another like you said, like an Europa League for that. Because
can we not just do that formatted to where, these games can still be continued? Like, maybe you're not qualified for CCC, but with Leagues Cup, you can at least use this method to get there. But now let's include some of the other teams, so that not necessarily that we're having to. And also, and I think that this is going to benefit MLS, we have to travel outside the country.
Yes, bro, that's exactly what I was going to say. I agree with that.
CCC is a good example of why MLS teams don't do well. They go down and play in Mexico, and they just can't handle that level of an environment.
They can't handle the humidity in El Salvador and Guatemala, Honduras, any of those.
And they're doing it at more favorable times of the year, to be honest. Like
exactly.
if they had to do it like in this time, it'd be fucking crazy. You know what I mean?
My only complaint with Triple C is for the teams in Central America, let them play in their home stadium. Like, stop making them play. Like, for instance, El Salvador, like, they have to play in Cusla in their, like, the El Salvador national team,
yep.
like their home stadium. Like, let them play. Like, go play in that small town. Like, the only time I ever heard of one instance where an MLS team actually had to go into the town of that team was actually, weirdly enough, Isidro Metapan, when they had to play against them in my family's hometown of Metapan. So, which they thought it was awesome. It was a cool experience. Also, because like a food court kind of shopping center area is also part of the stadium. So
nice. That's dope though, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think we're at a time. It probably didn't make sense for it to be structured that way for a number of reasons. But I think now we've approached a time where we have to be inclusive of those. And again, if you structure the calendar a certain way, regardless of what any fan up north is bitching about, you can structure it in a way that we do allow in the coldest months of the year some kind of competition to be going on that has bigger implications than just being about MLS. And at the same time, bro, iron sharpens iron can actually make MLS teams stronger as we think about intercontinental competitions, whatever those may be, whether it's triple.
Well, you want to have good performances in Club World Cups, right? Like, you want to be able to qualify for those competitions.
And I just hope you make it out of the fucking group. Yeah,
exactly. Let's build up our teams in that way. Let's actually go out there and actually go to these. I get it. It's uncomfortable. But honestly,
you gotta be uncomfortable.
Exactly. Yep. The only way you really grow, you can call it individually or even as a team, however you want to look at it. The only way to grow is to put yourself in situations where it's going to be uncomfortable because of the unknown. Again, you putting these teams in Central America, you got all these other clubs that are in there that are arguing about not being able to be a part of CCC. Well, let's give them an avenue. Let's make this. I get it. Revenue wise, it might not be, but you can still get so many sponsors from those countries. Like this, you can still do more. Like, there is still more to get. There's still more to win. And I feel like everyone could win and benefit off of this. And yeah, we could take a break in the winter and do that.
Because fair point, John. What you're saying is, which is honestly the truth, is if Liga MX and MLS want their to get any better, CONCACAF needs to get better.
We just need to improve, but we can't. Okay, and this is getting off topic when we talk about the national teams in terms of why CONCACAF is considered such a weak region, is because our infrastructures aren't building up and they're not coming from the clubs. This is a method to make everyone better and our region better. You want stronger competition. You want Gold Cup to matter. This is the way. This is one of the ways that you could do that. I'm not saying it's a fix for everything, but it's part of a benefit that could grow, soccer on this side of the world and make it bigger. So yeah. I think that would work. I think that you could do that.
Oh, and you're absolutely right. This is like the ultimate fuck you from MLS.
Exactly. I bring it up because John's talking about it, and like I thought about this before too, which is why I saved this and bookmarked it. But like, as much as I recently haven't really agreed with Will from MLS Moves on a lot of his takes, I do think this one was spot on, right? It's like, how can we expect anyone in America to value the U.S. men's national team playing in Gold Cup? How can we expect the players to take it seriously and not take breaks during this fucking tournament if we ourselves, as our domestic league, doesn't care? If we don't care, how's anybody else going to care, right? We're still playing games, regular season matches, while this tournament that's supposed to be very big across our confederation is going on. I just don't understand, right? And so, again, I don't want to go too far off topic, but it is just one of those things, another example of why the schedule does need to be overhauled.
And then you lose your best players. You lose your players for Gold Cup. You lose your players for World Cups.
Exactly what I was talking about earlier. Yeah. Like, you're taking breaks and we're doing all this and that. Teams are missing out on playoff potential just because they have good players that internationally could impact and help out the U.S. men's national team. You got some of the players that don't show up that are playing in Europe because they're tired. So these guys want to, they want the opportunity to play, so they'll play. It affects the clubs. Like, I'm just thinking as a whole, as a region, and call it whatever you want. It's only going to be beneficial in a lot of ways. So we can find ways, and I get it. People might think, well, revenues might be down because stadium attendance might go down. We can do that in commercial. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there is other ways to go about getting sponsorships in terms of you could make Leagues Cup more lucrative, like how I just said, adding more, Central American teams, getting some sponsorships from those markets.
Yeah, there's a way to backfill the revenue.
Like, there's ways to make it up to where it doesn't need to impact anything. Actually, we might actually even end up making more money in terms of revenue than we are currently.
Yeah.
But
John,
again,
what were we going to say? Last point?
I was going to say, like, that's a lot of the reasons to do this. Like, we talked transfer window, but yeah, the international windows is like that causes us so many issues. Like, that's such a problem for MLS, problem for the players. I mean, one of the ones that Don Garber even talked about is that the MLS playoffs, right, is going over that November window where they have to break for like 10 days. We saw it this year, like gone past with the playoffs. It completely kills the whole vibe. It's like you played the first rounds. It's like next round. Okay, when's the next round? 2 weeks from now. It's like, well, we're in the middle of the playoffs. I'm waiting 2 weeks for the next round of games. So
kind of
changing that so that you don't have to break things like playoffs or MLS league play. You don't have any of these stupid situations, the all-star problem, all of these scheduling issues will be fixed by aligning everything.
Yeah, I agree. So again, guys, I know that was a long one too, and I think it's just one of these little mini topics of discussion that I don't think will ever be resolved. There's always gonna be people who are just sitting on one side of the coin or the other, and I get it, I really do. But from my perspective, I think it all boils down to how badly you want to watch these games in person versus not. At the end of the day, and I know if it's me, I've gone to see my teams in shitty weather. Like, it just is what it is. Like, I know what I'm getting myself into if I get sick.
I went with Jose.
Yeah, bro. Like, fuck it. If it starts raining, if it's thunder, whatever, bro. It's like, I'm gonna go watch my team play, and I'll deal with the elements and the environment. If it's hot as hell, bro. Like, it is what it is. So I don't know. I think it's each their own, but I do believe that there are more fans who are willing to endure the conditions than not. And again, if you're not one of those, let me know in the comments down below, man. Really curious to understand your side of the argument, because from my perspective, it's pretty simple. So anyway, that is the second main topic, the final one that I want to jump into. And I'm really going to play a little bit, or take more of a back seat, I should say, on this one, because I'll be real, guys. I don't really watch a ton of other American sports. I just don't. Like, I think I used to. NFL used to be kind of big in my life to an extent. But like, I'll be honest, like, in this day and age, my life is firmly about footy. Like, that's really what I watch more than anything else. But I do know that there are others on this panel today who do pay attention to all the American sports, and that's great. There's zero judgment on my side. I just want to better understand how MLS stacks up at those times of the year when college football is running rapid, when NFL is up and running, NBA is kicking off, right? Like, that seems to be the argument for kind of the most diehard American sports fans as general, is like, how is MLS going to get attention if it's competing with all of these other, preeminent sports, I guess you can call them, in America at the busiest time of the year? So Hector, I think you may, across this group, follow more American sports potentially than anyone here. So let's start with you, man. I'm curious for your take. How do you think about how MLS will compete if it has to stack up against those other sports that I just mentioned?
The reality is, it clashes regardless. It's going to clash regardless. If you do the fall to spring type schedule, you're going to clash. Fall regardless. You have NFL Sundays and you have college football Saturday. That's just going to happen. If you want to make a valid point, MLS Cup playoffs also falls in line with the World Series. I know that's with the titling and all that, but still. But it is one of the bigger when it comes to baseball. I mean, I know a lot of people don't sit and watch 162 games. I get it. I do. But
October, though, is a big month.
But October is a big month. NBA, if any, like, NBA isn't. Well, I think right now NBA would be an issue just because June, that's the playoffs, right?
It's May and June.
Well, the NBA finals.
The finals are in June. The finals would be in June.
Correct.
So you have the finals. Once again, basketball, very long sport. but people watch the playoffs. And so regardless, you're going to conflict. As a matter of fact, we start during March Madness. So
no, we start during NFL playoffs. Right at the back end of NFL playoffs, like right when the Super Bowl is
after. It's
a little after. It's like maybe a week or two after, right? But it's still, you still have that limit. It's still there though.
You're going to conflict regardless.
Yeah.
The question is in reality is how many of those people are actually soccer fans to begin with? That's really honestly the truth, if you ask me.
I think they're soccer fans. They're just more casual. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right. They're soccer fans, but I think the reality is for most people, and I'm like you, Jose. I only really watch soccer, and like people talk to me about like, oh, Orlando Magic. I'm like, I honestly like go Orlando, but I don't know anything. So like from my perspective, I have a lot of respect for what happens when college football's on and when NFL's on, because I see that here in Orlando. What happens is that time of year, attendance just dips because so many people are like, I'm going to go watch UCF. I'm going to go watch the Gators. I'm going to go watch, the Seminoles, or I'm going to go watch the Bucks, or I'm going to go watch, the Dolphins, whoever you want from Florida in that football. That time of year just comes in and you see a massive dip. And so for me, playing the most important games against that, we can't compete with that. There's no way. MLS is nowhere near able to compete with NFL and college football.
But the question
at some point in the near future, we might be able to compete with the others, is my perspective.
I think right now the concern isn't about competing with the NFL.
For attention in general, I'm asking.
I think right now the priority is, can we, because the issue with soccer here in the US is, how do we get this league to be, one, entertaining enough for the Euro snob to where I understand this, and I think if we do switch the seasons format, I do think that does that, at least that part, especially with transfer windows, while also adding some sort of element to entice the American fan, which for me, playoffs is the way to, and it's not foreign in football either. Playoffs, there's other leagues that do have a playoff format, not obviously excluding the Big Five in Europe, but that is what MLS has, at least their battle, is how do I make this league entertaining enough for a Chelsea fan to come and watch this match, and then at the same time, how do I get Joe Schmo, who likes the Green Bay Packers, to also want to see what this league's about? So I think
to care, right?
Yeah,
care even a little bit.
Like I told you, you want them to care. Some of the teams are shit. I talk about Utah in terms of basketball. They got an awful team. Like I get it, they did some things like this is a whole different conversation, right? Yep. But like you have these teams that are just poor. You see it in baseball. Some really poor teams in the NBA, really poor teams in the NFL. There's like I said, people have a tendency to want to follow things that are successful.
Also, my college football team sucks. So I mean, we're a basketball college, but
same.
Again, but it's to the point. You follow things that are successful as a human nature. You're gonna want to be aligned with things that are successful because you want to look successful. Like if these teams get better in some of these markets, especially the markets that can take advantage of having really poor sports teams around, they can be successful too, and add themselves to the bigger names of MLS. You know what I mean? Like use Portland, that revenue, that, you know what I mean? Like 1,000%. You get that attention, everything just opens up. I get in terms of like, the only thing that I could see this being a problem is like TV revenue. Because TV revenue is so divided in between other sports at that same time. It already is now, but I feel like it'd be more prevalent at that moment because I feel like maybe MLS rights would probably be worth less. But at the same time, again, I go back to the point. You can find other ways to make the revenue up.
I mean, they've got the Apple TV deal at the moment too. So
I'm not
as much as they
now.
want to be on TV, they don't have to all the time,
I'll be
honest. I
agree
with you with that point.
My Sundays, at least I'll use that for NFL Sunday reasons. TV, obviously, because I have Apple TV on my TV. Got the Dynamo game on. Tablet, probably the Astros, and then on my computer screen is probably like the Texans game. And yes, I am the sicko that's looking at all three screens.
Yeah,
I do the same thing as you.
Ultimate sports man.
I do the same thing as you.
Yeah,
like you just
100%.
you have like obviously like your attention is drawn off like in many different areas, but some of these games like we could timely schedule them. Like NFL does, it's the 1 o'clock game, it's the 4 o'clock game, and then there's a Sunday night game, right? And then you got Monday and Thursday.
Yeah, bro.
You have windows. You have windows where there's days where there's just no sports.
That's what I'm saying. They can, like MLS can still stagger the game day schedule. They can. Right now they choose not to because they're driving so many people to MLS 360. And I understand that it's probably part of the Apple deal, and they want to mimic what NFL is doing with Red Zone. But
Red Zone, because I mean Sunday there's 3 time slots. There's the noon kickoff, right? I think that's at least for here in the Central. Here. Noon, and then you have your 3 o'clock, which is usually like the West Coast teams, and then you have Sunday night, and then obviously Monday night. But like you can span out, and they still have Red Zone. Like I'll watch Red Zone from time to time, especially if I decide to do like a 3-team parlay.
Oh yeah, no, I agree, bro.
Hey guys,
I think this deal again, this whole current schedule format that we have, it made sense once upon a time. I'm not gonna lie, it did. It made sense.
I just want Sunday night soccer
for the NFL owners who made it 20 years ago.
Sunday night soccer right now doesn't mean anything.
They didn't want to.
No, that's why. Like
league.
You don't know how dumb my brain was when I saw Sunday night soccer. I was like, ooh, what can that be? And
I hear that.
It turns out
I think Jose over at least listened to it when I talked about it. I was like, I thought this was gonna be a full spectacle. Like we're gonna have like the whole crew like at the stadium, like doing like
our own country singer opening up the whole evening. Yeah, bro.
I was prepared to see like maybe not Carrie Underwood. Maybe my bar wasn't that high, but like like make it a spectacle. Make me feel like Post Malone. I mean, he does everything now these days.
Yeah, that's true, bro. He opened up like the Esports World Cup or some shit. I was like, dude, Post is everywhere. Get him in for this, bro.
But the thing is, you could though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could.
You had an opportunity to make this feel Sunday night soccer. Like, get me hyped for it. And they're still in their whatever Apple Studio, wherever the hell that is. And then it's just Andrew Wiebe like, oh, I decided to try barbecue today. Like,
yeah, that's so true, bro.
No offense to Andrew Wiebe. Why do we not have Kalen Carr doing this?
Yeah, fair point. And I will say, also Andrew Wiebe in Austin wearing a cowboy hat and the cowboy tie, as I call it, makes zero sense to me. Yeah, the polo tie. Yeah,
either way,
it's not it. But either way, yeah, I agree that all these are valid points, man. John, what were you gonna say, John?
One more point, which we haven't thought about, but makes sense, and it's to do with other sports. And this is one of the things that I think is the best that this happens, is that you will not be able to play your NFL games at the same time as your MLS games, and that will force some of these owners that are still playing in NFL stadiums to finally do something about that, because I don't think there's a world in which you're able to do Seahawks and Sounders like that many games that close together, or like, for example, the Revs, who FYI Don Garber said in this, and I quote, they're trying really hard to get a new stadium in New England, which I laughed out loud because the Crafts are worth $11 billion and they've been in Gillette Stadium since 2002. So I don't think they're trying that hard.
I don't even want to complain because we're already getting our new stadium. It's coming. It's on the way.
Hey man, you're joining the revolution. Welcome.
Hey, we're good. We already had it. We had it. We had to move because low key that stadium is like really out the way. Like it really is.
I'm familiar with that.
That was not in Chicago. It was not in Chicago.
Bridgeview is like, that's all the way over there. Yeah,
bro. When I realized I was paying $40 for an Uber, I was like, wait, are we in Chicago?
No,
definitely not Chicago anymore.
That's like how Fort Lauderdale's not in Miami either, bro.
Yeah,
bro. Honestly, where they're gonna have this new stadium, it's a very good location. It's like a little bit more south of where the stadium is now, and I think it makes sense because that whole area is kind of seems like it's getting kind of redeveloped, and this seems more of like a I don't know how to describe it, but it's more like more youthful, I guess you could say.
And I will say about Rollins' point about forcing owners in the league to make tough decisions now. I think it's already happening. That's the thing, right? I mean, you quoted the Kraft family, what they're doing, but even if you were to zoom in on Dallas, again, for those who don't know, FC Dallas doesn't play in Dallas; they play in Frisco. Very similar situation. It's like 35 miles north, and so again, what they've been doing that since 2003 is when they moved to that Toyota Stadium. And now what's happened since then, very recently, is USL has come for the first time into Dallas through men's and women's teams. Dallas Trinity plays at the Cotton Bowl. Atletico Dallas, which set to kick off in 2027, also plays at the Cotton Bowl now. That's where they're going to be playing. Bro, I shit you not. They have a real opportunity to kick FC Dallas completely out of this market by 2030. I kid you not. Just being that close to Dallas proper where the actual fans are. Like, it's going to be insane, bro.
You have competition. Honestly, yeah. And my hope is USL gets to the point where we can do the little tiered system, because maybe with this European style or calendar aligning with everyone, maybe then we can add Pro Rel. Again, another topic. Maybe that's a
whole can of worms that we got to open up.
I mean, maybe we don't open up for today, but
you know what I mean? Like, Women's Super League's already on that. On the same schedule. Yeah, they're on the European schedule.
They're on the tier 1 European schedule.
I mean, they have like one team that's in the north, but still,
like they're doing it. And like I said, if this is almost
setting
going
it
to
up
force
right.
everyone's hand. Yeah, if MLS does not find a way to start making similar moves, you're gonna get completely overtaken by a league that you probably didn't think was a threat to begin with. And so I don't know. I really do believe that it's going to be testing grounds in a lot of these different markets. Not all of them, but in some of them that will force owners' hands. And it can be easy on them if they just simply say, you know what? Even something as I say small, because honestly, there's a laundry list of changes the league can make. But the schedule change is probably one of the first they can make that have real, genuine, long-term impact for players, for fans, not just domestically, but abroad as well. So, guys, we're running out of time for the video. The last thing I want to just wrap up with really quickly is, do we feel like this should happen? Are there any other small changes around the schedule that MLS should entertain? We don't have to reel them all off right now, but I think if you have a cool format, let's start with Hector. He mentioned he had something really interesting to propose. Let's hear it, brother. What do you got?
Look, I've been saying this for the longest. I think it would fit to what I think would work for the MLS, especially where it makes sense to certain demographics here in the U.S. as well. Apertura.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Liga MX fans are smiling everywhere.
As a Liga MX fan, my own, do not have a team, but as someone that appreciates the beauty of a lot of sloppy football. I also watch.
I stopped watching. It's terrible. I stopped watching. I'm sorry.
You're not helping Hector's case, John. You're not helping his case.
It's entertaining. It's called entertainment, John.
Listen, the only reason that people show up to that is because it's tradition and it's been built in.
Yeah,
the football is
we don't have any tradition.
But I will say, I do think that format, for the sake of this conversation, works a little bit better than what we have now. If we're looking ahead to the future of the league, that's all that I'm saying.
So I'm saying
2 playoffs.
Well, think about it. You know, you play all 15, right, in your conference. You go into your playoff, then you go into the final, and then you do the same thing for the Clausura. And now you have, get ready for this, a super champion. Bro,
interesting.
This dude's bringing back the campeón de campeones concept. Crazy,
bro. My dumb American brain just heard super.
I know, yeah. That's usually anybody hears super is like, I'm in. I'm fucking in. Sign me up. I'll invest right now. Yeah, you know, I think this is.
But you get that break. You get that break for the summer, and you also get that break for the winter.
I'll be honest, bro. I like a world where there aren't 2 playoffs. I like that format. I just like a world where there aren't 2 playoffs. I don't like a super campeón. I do. I like the idea that, like, there's the break. I don't know. You probably throw Leagues Cup in or something else. The break has to happen, and there has to be 2 separate, almost like mini seasons into one giant season. But 2 playoffs, I don't know, makes it a little bit interesting, I think, for the American fan. I don't know how they feel about that. Again, in comments, let us know down below how you guys feel about that. The opportunity for there to be 2 separate postseasons where you can crown one, as Hector said, super champion.
We're gonna have that struggle like Liga MX where only a few teams can go back to back. Let's see how strong your team actually is. Honestly, that's what it is. Like very few teams can do it. So I guess it makes it for an interesting competition.
And then you got to laugh at the team that missed out on the quadruple. So
America fans everywhere are smiling right now. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, that's a really interesting proposal, man. But I will say my proposal, just to kind of, again, I will say flat out, I do think that this needs to happen. I think the schedule format needs to be overhauled. And I would go as far as saying it's the first stepping stone. I think we should be working towards a format where we honestly expand MLS into 40 teams, 2 different divisions, MLS 1 and 2. And who knows, like from there, the possibilities become really endless. But putting all that shit aside, it's a can of worms for a different day. Just thinking about what happens to this league post-Messi, I think a schedule format has to change. Rollins?
I was going to say it's interesting that you're talking about that, Hector, and you, Jose. Both of those things are kind of combined. Simon Evans, I don't know if you know him, but he covers MLS. He wrote an article all about like there could be a world in where they kind of merge that idea of Apertura Clausura, but also NFL style divisions and kind of like divide it out into like Southeast and the North. Yeah, like there's a whole article written about it on his website. So that would be crazy. That would be like a whole combination of I don't want to go that route, but like there's so many ways you could do this, but you have to align the schedule first.
Okay.
And then
I agree.
You could figure out, okay, how do we want to change our format as well? But it's all going to go like MLS 4.0. This is how it becomes that.
I agree.
Interesting topic what you just brought up about the divisions, because I don't know how you guys feel about this, but maybe there just needs to be more rivalries in MLS. Like, would that not be a way to spark up with all these new clubs that have been popping up?
I mean, that's what this would do. You play your local rivals a lot more.
So then you would.
I would love that.
I think it would help. Think about all the Texas teams. Think about all the Texas teams.
I just want more opportunities to beat the shit out of Austin. Like I'll be honest. I think like if I beat that, great. I'm fucking in, bro. And I think Houston, obviously Houston too. But like we go so far back. I had a competition with somebody the other day. It's like certain rivals, you kind of need them to be somewhat good or relevant to you, so that derby match you guys have every year, it just brings the fans together in a really fucking awesome way. I think that's kind of where it is with Houston. I think with Austin, I just want to beat the shit out of them. But like putting that aside, like I do think that grows the game. Yeah. I think like playing your rivals more, even if it means the schedule does get more congested here and there, but we expand it. It makes sense. Like if you think about it, that's how you get a local community to get more involved. Is you get the two groups of people who hate each other just come together more often. I mean, it makes sense.
They really want to throw out that Seattle or St. Louis Chicago rivalry. Which again, I get it. It's another sports and it makes sense. In this situation, we're in different conferences.
Give me the Ice Bowl. Give me St. Louis versus Chicago, bro. I'll take that.
But when you're saying that though, to those American fans that do have beef with St. Louis and Chicago, I mean that's a way to sell it.
And they probably feel a little bit more of a way than I do. I mean, I'm in Wisconsin.
I mean,
I don't have any affiliation to any other like team from Illinois. You know, I don't really care. Even then, like it would make Minnesota. I don't even know if Minnesota has any rivals. I'm not too familiar with their
Canada.
Is there just the Canadian teams up there?
I guess. I mean, they're around the border, so I couldn't even tell you. But like,
I mean, to be honest, like I think they need a rival. Like we could.
If you base it on NFL, it could be like Michigan teams, you know, stuff like that.
That's the other thing that could happen here is it might move towards maybe Canadian teams in this change going to the Canadian League
Championship, which I've been advocating for.
They talk about it all the time. It could have like this with the schedule change. You're like, okay, let's just not try and figure out the schedule for Montreal to play in the winter. It could happen. It could be that.
But the Whitecaps play indoors? So that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean they have to get indoor.
Kind of indoor outdoor.
Right? The Whitecaps don't have a stadium. It would have to be a massive buyout in some ways, but this would be a time to do it. Like all of this stuff that's like, how are you going to do this? When you change the schedule, that's also an opportunity to fix some other stuff that you might want to do.
Yeah. And it's all part of growth. It's all part of growth.
To be fair, Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, they need to go make the CPL better.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that would be good. And I'm not that I want to kick them out, but you know.
I
got called Judas for proposing that, but I did, bro. I got MLS fans who were telling me that I was betraying the league by suggesting.
And they could be on the other schedule.
It's like the people that say like we need to add teams from Mexico to the MLS. Like we don't even let them play in leagues. Like we don't even let us play in Leagues Cup. Why would we do that?
No, but I just think about so many untapped markets in MLS that could potentially open up. If we open up 3 teams, think about how many like untapped markets that we could get into.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so much. There's room for growth. I mean, I'm not advocating for it. I'm not pushing out that. Don't put my name on that. I'm just saying there is enough room to where you could, if you
at
wanted
least get to 32, because it's way better for tournaments, more divisional.
Yeah, you could chuck in a couple new teams.
I think in the long run, at the end of all this, is they're gonna be monitoring what the USL is doing to see if there's proof in the pudding. Because now they're like, oh, we don't have to try it. We could watch this team either sink or swim with this,
risk free, yeah.
And so if it works out, if I'm MLS, I just buy the fuck out of USL. I just buy them, and then I make this league what everyone wants, which is promotion and relegation. And now there's a consequence. There's now a consequence if you
for
suck.
Being banned. Yeah.
Hashtag FC Dallas.
With that, do we scrap the draft?
Bro, the draft needs to be gone.
As a proponent,
the draft is dying. It's a dying thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I don't even remember our draft picks this year because they don't play.
No one cares.
I know one, but because he actually has played and he was lighting up MLS Next Pro. But that's the only reason. Sam Sarver is the only one I know from Dallas' perspective because he's actually broken into the first team. But that's the only reason.
Jerome Jabay for Orlando City's done pretty well. He came. I'm
gonna be honest though, but you can shift those draft picks to the USL. You know what
that's
I
what
mean?
I'm saying. Yeah. And even then, it's very few people who actually like get from being drafted to like actually contributing meaningful minutes in the first team.
So, and this is off topic, but I have been saying it. Keep the combine, but let the players choose where they go. Let the MLS teams do like their little performance, their little pony show to try to get this player to come join them. But like, let the player decide, hey, am I going to have a better chance at playing for this team versus being picked on a team? And I mean, obviously we have the whole story about the guy that got drafted by Toronto and now is the kicker for the Dallas Cowboys. So, I mean, like proof that the MLS draft sometimes really doesn't work.
All I'm going to say is you look over in Spain, they got B teams all the time playing in their like the under leagues, right? Just to make the teams more competitive. If you're concerned about USL not having enough teams, make MLS Next Pro just in with that, to chuck it all together. Those teams just can't get promoted into the next division, and it's fine.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we fixed U.S. soccer landscape, guys. I think it's
we might have just cracked the code.
We
for
just go home. Don Garber, you're welcome, bro. We did your job.
I'm gonna send this to him. I'm gonna send him the link. All right, Garber, if you're watching this, man, one, you're welcome. Two, subscribe to GOLZ TV, Wake Up MLS. I need done that already.
I need a piece, Donnie.
I need a piece. Yeah, bro.
Give me like 0.5%, and I'm good.
Yeah, bro. In all honesty, and plus, I'll be honest. I don't think a 6 or 7 figure contract's too expensive for you guys anyway. Yeah. So let me know. I'm available. Cell phone's on, ready to be called.
But I got you for Sunday Night Soccer. I got you.
We'll make it what it deserves to be, what the fans deserve. 1,000%.
I'll take the standing eating barbecue in the field job. That's fine.
With the polo tie and the cowboy hat. Fuck it. I'm in. I'm in for that version of Rollins. I need to see it. All right, man. Look, we'll call the video here. This was a great conversation. I think one of the best videos we've done on Wake Up MLS in quite some time, because I do think that there is something here. I do think this is a very divisive topic across fans. I know everybody has an opinion on this, so share yours down below. Seriously, let us know, man. I think it's a good argument to have, because I don't think that this happens anytime immediately. I think even when it comes time to actually vote, there's going to be so much back and forth. The league may stall a decision, even if it is post-World Cup. So I think there just needs to continue to be noise on this, because without it, no change really happens. So let us know again in the comments down below how you feel about this all. And again, if you enjoyed this type of content, you want to see more in-depth discussions around changes that MLS should be making, again, like the video. That lets us know, again, how much you really like this content. Subscribe to Wake Up MLS and GOLZ TV. We appreciate you. And again, man, we'll be back with another episode next week. Excited to see what that is. Leagues Cup is kicking off. We may or may not be covering it on the channel. We'll find out. It just depends on, I guess, how much of a reaction we get from our audience and our fans. So if you do want to see us cover Leagues Cup in any capacity, let us know in the comments down below. But yeah, man, that's it as far as today's video goes. All right. So from everybody here at Wake Up MLS, my name is Jose. That's Hector. That's John Rollins. That's John Rivera. We'll catch you guys next time.